What advice would you give to our PGY1s?
So for our interns, it's a long road. It's a hard road, but put your head down, work hard, training something to proficiency. You spend a lot of time, with lacrosse at the wall. You play wall ball, you go right hand, left hand, until you can do it perfectly. And with surgery, that's suturing, that's drilling, that's, taking one specific thing and taking it so you don't have to think about doing it. Your hands just do it. Trust the process and keep running the sprints.
Hello, this is Dr. Lee. I'm here with Dr. Rachel Blue. She is and will become an excellent neurosurgeon. First, let me have her introduce herself.
Hi, thanks for having me, Dr. Lee. Like Dr. Lee said, I'm a chief resident here at Penn. Just finishing up my residency in the next few weeks here, actually. I did my undergrad degree at Ohio State and then medical school at the University of Minnesota, and then have been here in Philadelphia ever since.
So you have a little bit of an atypical path for us Ivy League neurosurgeons because you're from the Midwest. And what was your first kind of impression of leaving there and coming here?
Yeah, the Midwest was great. Minnesota nice is very much a thing, and I enjoyed my time there. But, I do think I enjoy the pace of the East Coast. I think it was definitely a change I was happy to jump to from spending so much time in the Midwest.
And so one unique thing about you, which shouldn't be so unique, but I think actually is amongst our residents, is that you were a Division I scholar athlete. And maybe talk a little bit about your experiences in college.
Yeah, so I played Division I lacrosse at Ohio State, go Bucks. And from the time that I was looking at colleges, the recruitment process was a big part of that. And, of course, I'm looking at academics, but, I knew competing competitively was something I was very interested in. And I think it's something that, was really fundamental in kind of forming, who I am as a person and also who I am as a surgeon. I think being an athlete and a scholar athlete, you learn how to train. You have mental discipline, you have physical discipline, and, you spend your life competing on teams and learning that kind of working together gives you the best outcomes. And I think there's a lot that's translatable there, to the medical world, but also very much to the surgical world.
You mentioned three things: the mental discipline, the physical discipline, and then the teamwork. And I think many of us who come through neurosurgery have demonstrated the mental discipline just by being able to score well and do well in your tests. But the physical discipline is a unique part of surgery. And I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about the physical side of neurosurgery, taking call.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, it kind of comes in a couple different forms. Like you said, call can be exhausting, and there's a sense of, when you're exhausted and, on the field, you're running sprints till you are going to throw up, or it's the end of the game and you're down by one. There's a sense of I'm physically exhausted, but, we have a goal and you have to dig deep. That's something that we said very frequently on the field. It's you got to dig deep, And that's something, that I think translates well. And I think there's also then the physical aspect of training something to proficiency. You spend a lot of time, with lacrosse at the wall. You play wall ball, you go right hand, left hand, until you can do it perfectly. And I think, with surgery, that's suturing, that's drilling, that's, taking one specific thing and taking it so you don't have to think about doing it. Your hands just do it. And that's a mental training that leads to the physical. And I think that, that's something that very much as I've gone on, I find myself in those mental spaces where initially, the same way when I was going with my left, you're thinking about it, but then you kind of master that and then you don't have to think about that. And similarly with surgery, in the beginning, you're thinking about these approaches, you're thinking about this anatomy and drilling, but eventually it's just automatic and secondhand, and then you can easily identify if something is off. And I think that is something that, I find that kind of state that I get in, athletically kind of very similar to when I'm in that state surgically.
Yeah, I think that's great. The wall ball drills are interesting. I have not heard that before because I didn't play lacrosse. I think musicians obviously do this as well with all the scales and things that just sound so repetitive.
Yeah.
And we do this certainly in surgery. I think even just laminectomies, they're like not part of cranial surgery or skull bases we're interested in, but it's the bone work, it's the soft tissue dissection, and so that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess, are there aspects of the physicality that
Me,
make...
it's something that I found very helpful. But I think that there are a lot of different pathways to success. And, I certainly think kind of the athlete pathway is one that's kind of known and talked about, and one that I found myself on. But, we have other residents, in the department who haven't played sports. We have some that have. We have some that are excellent musicians. We have some that, were excellent researchers at the bench. So I think that, athletics is one way to get there. But more than that, a common similarity that I see is, the ability to train at something, the ability to dedicate a huge amount of your mental space, your time, your emotional space that you take to really go on a long journey of becoming excellent at something, and kind of sticking with something. So, I think that can happen, like you said, with musicians. I think you see that in surgery. But, I think that there are a lot of different routes to get there.
And then maybe you could speak a little bit about the teamwork side of how you maybe practice that, hone that in the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on a lot of different teams. I've played individual sports and team sports. And, I think that, the concept of a team sport and coming in and knowing your role. So like you said on call, when you come in as a freshman, there's a role. There's the captain, there's the coach, there's, your classmen, there's a hierarchy. And kind of leaning into that and understanding other people's roles, and even outside of kind of your direct line, the physical trainers, your weight coaches, everything like that. I think, similarly, we have that in the hospital. You have the junior residents, you have the senior residents, you have the attendings, and then in the operating room, you have your scrub techs. Kind of being able to understand what everyone's doing, understand your role, and coming together to kind of complete something successfully. I think that is, hugely important and something that translates very well.
Yeah, one thing I've definitely seen in the operating room is Dr. Blue has a amazing ability to communicate with everyone on the OR staff, and she builds. She has this charisma that just people want to be with her, and that's a wonderful skill and truly excellent. You're going to spend a year now in Colorado with a world-renowned neurosurgeon, and then hopefully you'll be back here and be my partner. And where do you see yourself in, I don't know, let's say 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years from now, hopefully into mid-practice, feeling really comfortable. I really at this point, focusing on, the absolute mastery of anatomy, building a practice. But I think what I most look forward to is helping kind of build the educational component here, building an anatomy lab, kind of getting, like we talked about, the junior residents up to the mid-levels to the senior residents, kind of getting, the training there, especially in skull base and anatomy. I hope that we just have, even more so than we do now, a world-renowned training program for cranial surgery. I think we're well on our way. But, I see myself doing anatomical studies. I see myself doing complex surgeries with you. I just look forward to helping the people of Philadelphia and helping train, the future of neurosurgery.
That's fantastic. I think you're going to have such a great role here. What advice would you give to our PGY1s?
Yeah. So for our interns, it's a long road. It's a hard road, but, put your head down, work hard, lean on your team around you, and know that eventually, that you'll get there. It'll feel like you won't at times, but, one day you won't have to think, as much as you do right now to do simple things, and eventually you'll do things better than you ever thought you would. So, trust the process, and keep running sprints.
Excellent. I love all these sports analogies. Running the sprints, wall balls. All right. Well, very good. This is going to be fantastic.